everybody, and welcome back to a brand new Toa Talk. My name is Ben, and we have no guests today. Now, why are there no guests today? Well, I was going to record with Alex, who has been on a previous few, but the days that we attempted to record, the times did not line up. We were supposed to record last night, things got a little bit too late, and I wasn't really in the mood to do it anymore. So I'm recording this one solo. I didn't feel like pestering Zav or Grayson to get on, and I promise that I'll have another guest on for next week. This one will be brand new. To open up with today's retrospective, we are looking at 2009. 2009 was a very unique year for Bionicle. This was probably the last true wave of G1, if you don't include the stars, as they were all Matoran builds. And I have to say, 2009 is very, very underrated. I can understand why some don't like it. I can definitely understand that. But I definitely think it deserves a lot more credit than it currently has right now. So this was almost like a soft reboot for Bionicle. Everything else was still canon. This was just exploring another part of the Bionicle universe, outside of the Matoran universe for that matter. And something that I don't like, I will say right out the gate, I don't really like the Glatorian heads that they have. Like, they're basically just the glorified Matoran heads where there's a translucent block. I don't think that was great. I definitely think that if all those sets had Kanohi, they would be much more sought after. And they possibly could be even more popular than the Enika to a degree. Now, I love the Unica. I love them. They're one of my favorite Toa teams. But the Glatorian really utilize that Enika build really, really well. They also bring back a lot of colors that were missing from Bionicle for a while. We have not seen tan in Bionicle in terms of like Toa or Matoran type sets since 2003. Brown we last saw in 2006, but I mean, like, we get like little hints of brown in 2009. But tan is back, and tan is a very underutilized color with Bionicle. We got that with the Vorox and the little Agori figure. I forgot what it's called, but you know, that little guy that goes with him. We got some beautiful Metru Limb recolors in Mata colors, which was really, really nice. Same with Enika parts. With Akar, we have Enika legs in bright red. Mata red returning for the first time in a long time. And we had some beautiful accent colors come back, like medium blue, so on and so forth. Lime. And when I say the Glatorian builds, I am going to just call them like Toa builds, because they're in that like canister figure kind of category. They are very, very underrated Toa builds. I think a lot of mocks started to get a little bit more, I would say maybe more creative around this era when it came to like Enika builds, because the Glatorian really showed like what that system was capable of doing. The closest thing we kind of got to seeing what variety you can have with that build was with the Toa Mangai. And we had Zav on for the segment that we had about talking about 2009 that got corrupted essentially. And he does not really like the Mangai. That's a hot take, because I know that's everyone's favorite Toa team now, but I think I do agree with him where the Glatorian have a lot more variety in builds than the Mangai. I think everyone would kind of agree with that, especially looking at guys like Malum and Skrull. Of course, he still had some characters that fell under like the generic kind of Enika looking build, like Akar. And those fresh colors, and even some of the builds, were a lot better utilized with the Matoran template with the Agori. If you saw my tier list video, I definitely like the Agori a lot more than the Matoran. Unique colors and unique weapons and molds go a lot way. I shouldn't say unique molds, because they actually bring back some old molds with Tahu's sword, brought back in a nice medium blue, along with some Brutaka parts as well for Barracks. I forgot what the red one is called. Sorry, I don't know my Barra Magna lore as well as I do with my Matoran Universe lore. But they also bring back Bakama Hordika's weapon for this is called the red one. And he also has a cool mask as well. Now the green one, again, my apologies to you Baramagna fans, but the green one suspiciously looks like a Kanohi, the one that's paired with Gresh. If that had like a front axle, like where you can actually put it on like a Metru head or something, maybe even a Mata head, that would be, I feel like that would end up being a lot of people's favorite Kanohi, but it's technically not a Kanohi, unfortunately. And also, I just like a dual molded head a lot better. Like even like you look at the Voya Nui Matoran and the Mari Torin, they don't come with eye stalks, but like you could if you wanted to, especially more so with the Voya Torin, because you can kind of assume that everyone would have green or orange eye stalks based on like the themes for that year, like the Toa having all green. All the good guys kind of had green eye stalks that year. You can just throw in a Fantoka or Kongu eye stalk where it's shortened and it fits in well with the build. Or if you really wanted to, you could throw in one of those extended ones, but it does kind of block their neck movements a little bit depending on which one you have. And the Mari Torin, I have no idea why they didn't have eye stalks. Again, like if you're looking at it as a build, the ones that came with Karzani did come with eye stalks. I know that because I have the Karzani set. So when I did my Avatorin, or not my this my Matoran tier list video, I was thinking more so of that because those were ones I actually owned, rather than just parting together the other ones. Like my Dekar, I did give him like an orange eye stalk because it doesn't restrict him from having one. I would like to give him a shortened one, but obviously that never existed in orange, unfortunately. But, you know, it's not really a big deal. That has that Metru back extension. Another amazing aspect of 2009 were definitely the vehicle sets. Now, they were different from 2008's vehicles because they actually had wheels, which was pretty unheard of in terms of Bionicle, like, because basically wheels weren't really a thing in the story for reasons I won't get into. But these are really cool. I wish I got more of them. I have the snowmobile one. I got to get the rest of them. They are a tad bit expensive. But yeah, they were great. We did see wheels one time in 2003 with Puku, but that was just like, it's basically a part of like the illusion to make it look like Puku's actually walking, as Puku is a crab. But the story, again, another extremely underrated part of Bionicle G1. At the time, it was quite controversial. Spoilers, get away from this now if you haven't gotten to that point in the story and you're trying to get into Bionicle. So, with 2008's cliffhanger, we finally get Mata Nui as a legitimate character. He's no longer just this like great spirit, ominous, like force, the powers that be kind of thing in the background. He is an actual character thrown onto an entirely different planet, completely out of his element. And it's a Mad Max scenario. Like, come on, how is that not cool? Now, the unfortunate part of 2009 is that they thought that they were going to have at least like another year or two to develop it further. So a lot of what we got from it was mainly set up, and then Bionicle met its quick end, which is funny because 2008 was originally the year that Bionicle was going to end. It was heavily rumored to end that year. But the brand was so successful that LEGO was like, no, you guys get a little while longer. So then that's why they did Baramagna. So right when you thought you had more time, you don't. But, I mean, we got to see a lot of those ideas kind of come to fruition, aside from some cut content in 2010 itself. So I would say 2009 is really great, while 2010 from like a story perspective gives you that payoff. Obviously the payoff could have been better if they spent more time with it, if it wasn't just all set up in 2009. But again, I mean, like, they didn't know that at the time. Now, me personally, as a kid, if they were going to spend another few years on Baramagna, I would have liked to have some like either like sets or like some more like primary stories about what's happening with the people inside the Matoran universe. Because I was like, where's all the characters I know? Like, where do they all go? They're just all trapped in there. They're doomed. They can't do anything. And that's like a really interesting story concept. Like, your world is quite literally controlled by the guy that you spent so many years trying to stop. Like, literally the main villain, the bad guy. And we didn't really get to see that. Like, we got like some little kind of things here and there, but they were quite brief, unfortunately. But again, if Bionicle had like an extra like 5 years on top of 2009, where they could flesh out Barra Magna more, they can go to Boda Magna or whatever it was called, and they give us some Matoran universe, some, just insight on what's going on in there, whether they're new sets or whatever. That would have been really cool, just to see like how the battle is on the inside, while they're depending on Mata Nui going on his journey. I will say, in terms of ideas and execution, the idea of 2009 is really, really cool. I don't know how well the execution kind of was. I think it was as good as it could be at the time. But again, things were cut short. Their plans were altered. It is what it is. Now again, 2009 was a very mixed year for a lot of fans. At the time, it was controversial. Looking back, a lot more people have an appreciation for it. But there are still people that still have 2009 ranked pretty low on their Bionicle totem pole. I have it like, it is low for me, I guess, just because of the investment in like the Barra Magna stuff itself. Like, what the overall story was interesting, and the sets were good. It is on the lower side for me as well, but not nearly as lower as like people would say. Like, I would put it above 2005 for sure, and 2010. If you put it below those, you must really, really hate 2009. But yeah, anyway, that's my opinion on that. 2008 is not going to be covered today, but next week, let's just say that it will be an interesting retrospective. But yeah, that ends our 2009 retrospective for this pod. The next topic I'm going to get into is just like kind of like little mini updates for the channel. I'll make this a separate video. I'll cut this out and put it in a video for its own. It'll be on the channel when you open up the channel. So everyone that clicks on the channel should be able to see it at some point or another. And I just want to say thank you guys. I've been doing this for about a month and a half now, and I'm almost at like 100 subs, but I'm getting pretty solid views on videos, especially for Bionicle. And I mean, like, those numbers may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but to me, like, especially for something like Bionicle, like kind of how it's not necessarily fading into obscurity per se, but it's more so like a pop culture nostalgia rather than as big as a brand as it used to be. And yeah, I just want to say thanks for supporting the channel and keep commenting and all that. Like, it's fun talking to a lot of you guys. I've had some people come to the podcast because they found out about the podcast and they asked me to be on it, which is really cool. I am slowly going to start posting animations to the channel. I am in the middle. So here's the thing. It's an awkward period right now because I was getting ready to set up animation and to actually get stop motion going. My approach to stop motion is from like a film school background perspective. So like, I didn't actually study like stop motion per se. I did that throughout high school and even when I was younger. But I'm applying techniques I've learned in actual film school itself in it, and some other innovative things I've learned about that people use in other things. I'll get into that when I get to that. But again, that is slowly, when I say slowly, I mean like immensely slowly gonna happen. I've been re-uploading old content I've had throughout my other channels throughout the years, and no, those videos, they don't necessarily represent what I make now, but I still think they're fun, they're funny, especially like being Bionicle related, they have a place on the internet with like that old type of biotube content. I think it's fun. I'm sorry. As soon as I uploaded the Ice Cream Man video, I think that was like the fastest I ever got a dislike on a video. Now, I am in the middle of a move, so as soon as I was about to kind of make my content kind of shift to the more creative side rather than like just the talking side, I am moving houses. I'm not moving to a faraway place or anything. It's just actually, it's in like the same town. It's just a different part of town, bigger house, different space and all that. So I'm not going to be animating soon unless if the offer in the house gets declined or something, and then we have to, then I don't know when the other stuff will happen, but if that offer gets declined, then animation will happen faster, but if the offer gets accepted, then you're not going to see animation until probably 2025. But outside of the animation side, which I do plan on going into, and I really do want to focus on customs and 3D prints and mocks and things like that. I have a mock that I'm waiting on all the pieces to come to complete it. It's a completely original design with some inspiration taken from other people's interpretations throughout the years, just because the character is so popular. But it's a mock I'm excited to make a video about when he's ready. I have almost all the pieces on my desk. I'm just waiting on 2 more packages, and then I actually got the mask, commissioned from Galva. Many of you may know him as a very popular 3D modeler in the Bionicle community, and if it's pulled off well, like, this guy's gonna look really, really cool, and it's definitely my favorite rendition of that version of the character. Some of you guys can probably already guess who that may be, but I want that to be like the start of like a mock series. I do have other mocks that I'm making as well. I'm just waiting on certain pieces to arrive from, just because it requires like knockoff pieces, unfortunately. Certain recolors and things like that don't come in official Lego parts, so you have to get knockoffs, or sometimes there's just custom parts that Lego never made that are super useful, that are made with like plastic quality that's not as good as Lego, but it's kind of similar to Lego. I like to use those as well. But I may just start making the videos based on my 3D models of them, and kind of break down my creative process in making them. I'm not like the world's greatest mock maker or anything. If anything, I work best when I'm revamping a design, in my opinion. Especially when it's like a canon Bionicle character. Like, I have a lot of fun kind of bringing flair to whether it's a redesign or a different interpretation of that character. But yeah, that's for the channel. There are other things I'm working on with other people that will be on other channels that have more of a viewership base that I'm excited for you to see. It's similar content to what I want to do with the podcast, but I'm just happy it's being made regardless, and I hope you guys will check that stuff out when it's ready. I have some of them recorded already. We're in the middle of editing one. We might re-record it because it's a recording from almost a year ago. But that's going to be exciting, and I'll give more details on that specifically when we get closer to it. Because I don't want to say what it is in particular and then have it not come out due to circumstances or something. So this is my rule with talking about projects or kind of things like that. But also, you guys let me know what you want to see out of the channel as well. So I know what I want to make, and I won't always be able to make what I want to make, unfortunately, just because of the way my life is right now. But if you guys have any ideas, anything that you want to see that I'm interested in, like, I will definitely do it for you guys. Definitely would have fun doing it as well. But today, I am going to be talking about some fan projects going on in the community that you may or may not know about. You most likely know about them, I would assume. But you never know, right? Some people I know that are into Bionicle don't know about certain things happening in the community. Some people that watch my videos might not be connected in the community. So I kind of want to talk about that briefly. And again, apologies. I said this was going to be an extra long one to make up for the other one, but I didn't have a guest for this week, so this one will probably end up being about 40 or 45 minutes long, maybe. First one I want to talk about, because I have personal experience with it, is Bionicle Ignition 3, aka Ignition, The Battle for Power. For those that are not aware, there are 2 films on YouTube. One is 2 hours and one is 3 hours. Bionicle Ignition 1, Island of Doom, and Bionicle Ignition 2. Those 2 films adapt the year's 2006's story and 2007's story for Bionicle. And yours truly actually voiced Jala in those films. Now, I will say, back then, my voice acting wasn't quite impressive. It was my first voice acting gig. The first one, in fact, I recorded them on my iPhone in my garage, all in one take, after reading all the lines once. And it was essentially like that, because I think the lines had to be rushed due to circumstances with the film. And I also think, I was on my... I knew that if I couldn't get them done that day, I wouldn't be able to do them for another week or so, and by then it was like past the due date to do them. So I did them all in my garage. I had fun doing them, but obviously, like, I hate listening to my voice in the first one, as do many people, I assume. Which is unfortunate, because 2006 is one of my favorite story years, and I would definitely love to go back and watch that film and not cringe at my voice. But I mean, I don't cringe at it as hard anymore, for sure. And I mean, like, I was like 13, so it is what it is. In the second one, I'm a little bit older, and I do use a mic, and the environment is much more controlled this time. Those were pretty fun. Again, my lines aren't like... It's one of those things where, like, as an actor, like, you look at, like, an old performance, especially, like, before, like, you've had training or anything like that, or you just lack experience. You're just like, oh, this should have been better, or this could have been better, that could have been better. Just things like that. It's pretty common. But Noah, the guy that made those films, he worked his ass off making those movies. And I gotta say, like, for what they are, they're really, really well done. If you never got into the Bionicle story, especially for those years, it's a great way to access them, for sure, without having to go through every single book or serial and find media spread across, like the comics and things like that. It's all in one place, and I think that's very important about those fan film adaptations, is that they make the stories accessible so more people can enjoy them. And also, it's in like almost like a motion comic format. Like, I mean, obviously it's a stop motion animated movie, but with just how it is, it's very much like, it's kind of what it reminds me as. It's quite nice, and a lot of the voice cast, like, I was so like, looking back, I'm so surprised that I got picked for that, because a lot of those voice actors are like high caliber voice actors. Like, all the Paraka, all of the Baraki, Traga Vakama, like, all those were, like, guys were astonishing. And even more that I'm not mentioning, like those actors did such an amazing job voicing those characters. But if you guys have noticed something with that set of movies, is that they're missing a third one, which was the year 2008, the third year of Ignition. It technically wasn't Ignition, it was technically the Battle for Power, but the comics, if I'm remembering correctly, were still technically under Ignition. So it is Ignition 3, the Battle for Power. And that was like a meme for a while, and Noah Productions is kind of community, like Half-Life 3, Ignition 3. But there is a new group that have taken over the project. They're under a different channel, Project Manui Rising. They released a teaser about a year ago, and they released a trailer not so long ago. And the production value is very, very high. Like, it's ridiculously high. They got proper CGI, they got proper, like, everything going on. The voice acting, I'm sure, will be top tier. And for those that don't know, like, there's a lot of story that goes into 2008 for Bionicle. And these guys, they could have just chose the primary kind of parts of the story and have gotten away with it. I think, like, that would have been great to definitely have a more focused narrative. But they're adapting everything to ever come out of 2008, apparently. Like, everything. Of course, like, it's an adaptation, so some things will be different. Don't expect something that's, like, beat for beat the exact same. But this time, it's not a film. It's a series. It's going to be a lot of episodes, I assume. And yours truly does indeed return as Jala in some form or fashion somewhere down the line. I won't say where or how, but I am back as Jala. I do have some lines that I recorded a little while ago that are much more better, and I did about 10 takes per line. Just one in whichever way the performances go, they can tailor it to how the other actors are talking and things like that. And I really want this to be like a great kind of performance, and I don't really know the direction that they're taking that story in, particularly for the ones I'm involved in, but yeah, it was just fun playing that character again. And I always liked playing Jala. Jala was cool. He used to be my favorite Bionicle character. He's my number 2 now, I'd say. Toa is my number 1, but Lacan was always like my top 5 or top 3 favorite back when. I definitely liked Lacan a lot more as I actually properly read the serials and things like that. He's just a very interesting character. But yeah, this team, there's a lot of people on this team. I'm friends with a lot of people that are on the project. I'm friends with the director on the project. Very nice guy. You should really check out Project Manually Rising if you haven't already. And they got a lot of stuff in the works. They do more than just like the fan film, so there are some other, like, there's some other content on their channel that you guys should check out while you're waiting for the main fan film. But what's crazy to me is that that's going to be like the biggest Bionicle stop motion project maybe ever. I don't know if there's anyone next that will actually attempt a project that huge in that medium. The unfortunate thing with stop motion, especially with Bionicle stop motion, is that like it is a dying art. That used to be the primary BioTube content back in the day. You would look up Bionicle on YouTube. People would just take clips from TV shows and just like animate their figures with that. And I mean, like, you still have that now, just with not with Bionicle. Bionicle, again, like, that kind of faded into a different part of pop culture. It's not like a main brand anymore, just because Lego doesn't really do anything with it, unfortunately. In the BioTube space itself, especially like when the TTV, the Three Virtues podcast kind of era came in, you definitely saw less and less of that as the years went on, like, slowly. But now you can really, really tell there's not a lot of animators left, which is the reason why I want to really do it, is because, like, it's unfortunately lacking. And, I mean, there's a good amount of the veterans that are still around, like guys that are in their 30s and late 20s that are still doing that, which is crazy. It's awesome. But yeah, it's just like content that you don't really see anymore, and if you do see it, it doesn't get a lot of views, unfortunately. Again, just because of popularity and algorithms and things like that now, like, that you have to be careful about. Like, it's not like the old days where, like, any random video can just get a lot of views because it's a good video. It's just the way the internet works now. It always has been to a certain degree, but again, to a certain degree. Definitely not to the degree it is now. But yeah, those guys, they have, like, an original score. They got, like, everything. I would highly recommend checking them out and staying tuned for Ignition 3, The Battle for Power. Please check that out. And 2008, like, I mean, we'll talk about 2008 primarily in, like, the next podcast, but there is so, like, that's probably one of the most important years for Bionicle, and it's, like, the one that most people don't really know much about. I know people that know more about Barra Magna than what happened in 2008, just because of how crazy the story is. And how spread out everything was. It was, like, the most spread out any Bionicle thing was. Like, the serials would kind of not really coordinate with each other necessarily. You got the main story through the books and all that, but there's just so much content that there's a lot of stories I didn't even count under 2008, frankly. But yeah, those guys are super ambitious. It almost feels like they're adapting every single serial there is out there, but yeah, no, like, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I had nothing but a positive experience working with them, and again, I said it previously, I'll say it again, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. Another big fan project happening in the community that I don't really look into it too much, just because I don't really see a lot on my feed. I kind of forget about it. It's kind of my bad. But there's the Mangai project that people like to bring up a lot, and that one is in a different medium. It is in a 2D cartoon animated format, which I think is really, really cool, especially for Bionicle. Like, you don't really see that almost ever. But yeah, like they are basically having their own interpretation of the Toa Mangai era in the Bionicle lore. Now, for those who don't know, this is my favorite era in Bionicle. It's the one that it's not really fleshed out, honestly, too much. And here's what these guys are doing with it. Basically, the Toa Mangai are the team that Toa Likan worked with / led during the years up to Legends of Metro Nui. By the time of Legends of Metro Nui, it's a lot of the team members have unknown fates. There's no canon explanations. Greg never really went into those when talking about them too much. But they're super interesting. It's when I hear that project's being made, it's a little bit bittersweet to me, because again, like that's like one of my favorite eras that we never got, and a lot of people have a lot of their own interpretations of that era, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what their interpretation is. Like, definitely, like, on their level that they're doing, like, in, like, an animated show format. I think that's super cool. Like, that's, yeah, like, it's basically, like, it's just an animated series for Bionicle, which, again, like, aside from Journey to One, we don't really have a lot of those. And, of course, like, I don't know why I have to kind of say this, but some people kind of get these false impressions of certain things, but, like, fan projects are not canon, guys. I don't know how many times I have to say it to some people. They're not canon. But I think kind of like the bittersweet kind of part of this is that, like, by having a project of this scale and telling, like, your interpretation of these characters and all that. First of all, I mean, I would do the same thing. Just being honest and being real. I would do the exact same thing. But I think what the consequence to that is that when you introduce maybe fans who aren't familiar with this era, or maybe people that aren't, like, they weren't really heavily into the Bionicle lore, but they still really like Bionicle, and they watch the show, those people are going to have a little bit of a hard time telling the difference between, like, canon and fan fiction, per se. And again, I can't help but clarify, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. What I would say with, like, not necessarily the downside or anything, but just on the flip side of, like, playing devil's advocate with, like, a series like that, a lot of people have their own interpretations of those characters that I would like to see, like, other people's versions of. Greg no longer works with Lego, so we'll never have any more official canon kind of things happen towards G1's story, unless if Lego just goes crazy and it's just like, yeah, we'll just make this canon, you know, we'll have, like, some spokesperson be like, yeah, we're making this canon, that's canon, this is canon, and all that. Like, with these characters, I think what the series is gonna do is that, like, for some people, maybe, depending on, like, how many views it gets, a lot of people are gonna kind of, like, point to this as, like, their headcanon, which I think is really cool. And honestly, like, we kind of need some of that for Bionicle, because there's a lot of, like, big empty spaces. To prevent myself from rambling on about things that I don't think I'm communicating well, I think I'll kind of put it in, like, a category kind of like this. So we had the Toa Haga designs with the TTV contest that ended up being the canon designs and all that. And if you like those designs like I do, they're definitely a part of, like, kind of my headcanon and things like that. But, like, let's say that, like, you either don't like the Artaka design or you don't like the Helrix design. Again, those are made by fans, and those are, like, canon ones, right? Well, it's again, like, it's technically canon, but it's just because Greg gave, like, a thumbs up to it. So it kind of restricts your creativity in that kind of regard. But what I like about this, obviously it's a fan project, so fanon. What I really like about fanon is that it's still telling the story that these guys want to tell. But it's like an optional thing. So like if you want to incorporate this into your headcanon, yeah, if it'll fit. We'll see how well it fits with like main canon and all that. Um, but it's one of those things where you can pick and choose. It's just for fun, and it's a passion project. It's been taking these guys a long time to make it, understandably so. Like animation in general is quite hard, but yeah, I'm quite looking forward to seeing their interpretations of these characters. I have my own, but again, kind of like what I brought with like the Haga thing. Even though like those contests, like those designs are technically canon, people had like their own Haga designs before that they have a part of their kind of head canon. But yeah, I think that's kind of like the best example of like my kind of a take on a series like this, where it's like you have to make up a lot of stuff because Greg never filled in those gaps. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to it. To add another kind of parallel to the Bionicle world of fanon, you can, I guess the closest thing, like instead of like the TDV contest, you can look at like the Duck Bricks contest, where it's like these are the elected fan designs, or like these are the ones that just won due to circumstances. And you can choose to incorporate them into your headcanon, or you can just choose to look at them as their own separate thing. And I think that's pretty cool. It's nice just having the option, especially when you're either doing a binge or you're just really into the Bionicle story and you want answers to certain things and you like those certain answers, then great. That's perfect. To change up the medium, the next project I'm going to be talking about is Bionicle Masks of Power. Now, I had the privilege of talking to the I think he's the head producer. I don't think he's he may have been the director. I'm misremembering certain details, but he's quite involved in the project. He was there from the beginning, and he was the founder of the team. And that one, I mean, what's there not to be excited for it? You can download it directly through Steam, so it's easy to access. You don't have to go through Game Jolt or anything like that. It is third person, so you get to see your beautiful Toa Mangai character, whoever you end up playing as. In the demo, I believe that it is the Liwa demo. So we will all play as Liwa first if you do end up playing the demo. And that one it's retelling the story of 2001 from the perspective of the Toa, which is nice because, I mean, again, it kind of goes back to the accessibility of like the books and things like that. I don't know how accurate it's going to be to the material with adapting. I always love looking at other people adapt either canon things or even outside of Bionicle, just like looking at people to having different takes to adaptation. I myself am a writer, so I always think adaptation is fun, especially when it's pulled off very, very well. But it's even more fun when it's in a completely different medium because you don't really know what to expect. So when it comes to like video game adaptations in general, probably the best one in regards of taking parts from source material would be most notably the Witcher games, the Arkham Batman games, the Spider-Man games. They are all different interpretations, obviously, but they are, as far as I know, respectful of the source material, especially, I know for more so Spider-Man and Batman, rather than The Witcher. I've never played The Witcher personally, but that seems to be an example people like. And I think there are some other video games based on, like, books or something. Of course, there's, like, movie tie-in games. Those are a little bit different. That's just retelling the movie, but I guess you can technically call that an adaptation. But the gameplay looks fun. It looks really smooth. It's basically everything that you would kind of want out of a Bionicle 2001 based game. What I really, really like about it is that the characters talk through Metoric, which is a coded language, kind of similar to like the Hordika animations that we got earlier back in 2005, where they would be, it's kind of like how, like, if let's say that you were transported to the Bionicle universe, like, they do technically speak like an English type of thing, like to each other, but you would hear it as just like a bunch of computers talking to each other, and I think that's really cool. It's a nice different change to interpreting Bionicle, and I would love to see that a lot more. I do definitely like the just straight to like using like a legitimate language, whether it's English or Spanish or something like that. I mean to bring the meme in there, but that is just cool, and I want to see more fan projects approach that when it's appropriate, for sure. It might be a little bit harder in like a movie, or I would say more so like a movie format, just because like if you're focusing so much on the dialogue, then certain beats may not hit the same. But if you're approaching something in the style of Minog, then obviously that type of storytelling is perfect. And stories in general that don't use a lot of dialogue is really, really cool. I think there's a lot of potential for stories with very little dialogue, because then you rely on the visual medium, which is what film and TV and animation is kind of about. It's a visual medium. Versus like a book or a novel, you're really focused on what the characters are saying, what the characters are, like what the description of everything around is. And honestly, this project may take off outside of the Bionicle fan base. Moist Critical actually watched the trailer of it in a live stream. I haven't seen the clip, but that's what the creator or the founder of the Team Kanohi mentioned to me while I was talking to him. So if he plays that on stream, that will make other people play it. Low key, that might just actually bring back Bionicle. Like it just might, at least back into like the public eye to like a more obvious degree. Obviously, this community, like, we were into Bionicle before it was cool type of beat. Like, we definitely have our own stake to it, but it would be really, really nice to get more people either that were into it when they were younger, get back into it, or have new people that have no idea what a Bionicle is, and they're like, that looks really cool, I want to get into that. And again, 2001 is a perfect avenue to get into that, because that's like literally right at the very beginning. And if you are a brand new fan, or you know someone's a brand new fan, please play the Madanili online game. Obviously, when this game comes out, I will say play this game as well. But again, I don't know how well, or not how well, but how accurate the story depictions will be. But the gameplay and the vibe, everything looks perfect so far, so I can't complain. Bionicle is a very special community. I am happy to say that I've been exposed to the community ever since I got into it, which was back in 2006, early 2006 specifically. And the fact that we have so many fan projects underway is really amazing, especially with how small the community is now. I essentially know all these people are working on the ones I just mentioned, but like the community is so small, it's basically like it's like a legitimate like neighborhood, like an online neighborhood. Like everyone kind of knows each other. And I think that's really, really cool. The fact that we're so small and we have so many creative people into it. I mean, obviously that ties into Lego being creative and all that, so I guess it's only natural. But as someone that's a part of like other, I guess you can technically say other fandoms. I mean, I don't really count myself on any like under any like fandom per se, but I am fans of certain things. Like I'm a fan of Bionicle, I'm a fan of DC, Metal Gear Solid. I like Marvel quite a bit. I like many different IPs. Star Wars, like specifically the George Lucas era of Star Wars, is one of my favorites. That I've kind of always loved, but I'm not really like really into that at the moment. But I'm really astonished with like what Bionicle as a community can do, because I mean obviously there are always things happening with like other bigger communities like Star Wars. There's always like fan films being made and things like that. But this stuff that happens in this community like really sometimes outshines some of those in other fandoms quite a bit. And from the people that I've personally met throughout my many years on here, yeah, like it's true, I've met some not so great people, but like that percentage is crazy low. Immensely crazy low. Everyone else I've met, they're all amazing. They're all like really kind people. So again, it's such a blessing that we are getting new Bionicle content. You know, it's not official. I know it's not official. I know some people don't like the, like fan stuff just because it's not official. But like Bionicle is basically owned by the fans at this point. All but, I mean, legally speaking, Lego still owns Bionicle. And I definitely prefer it that way rather than it becoming a public domain essentially. Just because then anything's off the table. But again, we are living, like, if you're a Bionicle fan, you're still around. Like, we're not being fed all the time, but like, again, just from, like, we can feed ourselves. We can take care of ourselves versus other fandoms that really rely on the big corporate kind of companies to deliver for them. And there's oftentimes like huge droughts. Bionicle is, I mean, we have experienced that, and we're technically in a drought. We're in the longest drought there's ever been in terms of like fandom. I mean, maybe not the longest, but like definitely way up there compared to other ones. And we can feed ourselves. Like, we've made our own wells. We can drink our own water. Like, we have definitely become self-reliant rather than just, there's always those few like that are praying for G3 and all that, and I hope that happens, definitely. But I think a lot of people take for granted the spot that Bionicle is in right now, where we have people that have so much passion and they want to share that passion with the rest of us. I think that's really cool. I hope to be one of those people someday. I'm not, again, I think I mentioned this in another podcast or something. I'm not huge on fan projects. Like, I think, like, obviously if they're made from passion, do them. Like, just do them, get out of your system, whatever, or don't do it, whatever. Don't be like a, dare I say, like a Spider-Man Lotus where you're just trying to be like, yeah, we're better than this other creator who was handling the character, where it's like, if you disagree with something official, that's all good, man. Like, I mean, I disagree with a lot of official things from other IPs, as do many others, but like, that's the thing, like, you're not alone, right? But just the whole, like, we can do this better attitude. It's like, okay, let's say in the magical scenario where you're in their position, may you do, like, you might do better, maybe, but we wouldn't actually know. There's so many circumstances that goes into official content and all that. But again, like, from a fan perspective, a lot of fan content is often like official quality, I would say. Especially looking at like the projects I've just mentioned, like they look like they could be official quality if they suddenly got the Lego stamp on them. Like, it would definitely align up with the Lego values and all that. Like, they were doing a really good job with that. And even a lot of projects I'm not even talking about right now, just because I have to cut this one a little bit shorter. Sorry about that, guys. But let me know what fan projects you're looking forward to the most in the community. I definitely listed my kind of main three. I do hope to contribute my own as well. But again, Bionicle is just one of those things where it's a really big creative tool. It's a really big creative outlet that a lot of fandoms don't really, or a lot of IPs definitely don't really offer too often. Not to just be like Bionicle's the superior IP. I'm not saying that. But I definitely think there's a lot more room for creativity here. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day.